Hello everyone, welcome to the session on smiles, a way to represent chemical structure. I am Sherlyn, Assistant Professor, Department of Bioinformatics, Bishop Weber College. Today, in this presentation, we'll discuss about how to represent a molecular structure with the help of smiles notation. SMILES is an acronym of Simplified Molecular Input Line Entry System. With the help of SMILES, you can represent the chemical structure of a compound in a single line. As you can see in the visual, this is a structure of aspirin, commonly known as acetyl salicylic acid. The structure of aspirin can be represented in a single line notation with the help of SMILES. So, we are going to discuss the same of how to represent the molecular structure in a single line with SMILES notation. At the end of this presentation, I am sure you could be able to write the SMILES notation for the chemical structures. So dear friends, before entering into the topic of SMILES, we'll just have a brief introduction about molecular structures. The word molecular clearly implies some connection with the molecules and describes the location of atoms in a molecule. And it is represented in two forms, 2D as well as 3D. In 2D, the atoms are represented by their atomic symbols and bonds by lines. In 3D, the molecules are represented in X, Y and Z coordinates for each atom. Next, we'll discuss about how to represent structure. The chemical structures are represented by three ways. One is by graph theoretic representation, where the atoms are denoted as nodes and bonds as edges. Second one is through connection tables. Here, all the atoms and bonds are listed with their connectivity. Last comes the linear notation, which was described in human readable format. That is, it can be achieved with the help of SMILES. With this brief introduction, we'll move on to the topic of SMILES. The SMILES is a simplified molecular input line entry system, which is specified in the form of a line notation for describing the structure of chemical species. This SMILE notation can consist of chain of letters, numbers, and characters that specify the atoms, their connectivity, bond order, as well as chirality. So the SMILE notation can be useful to represent any chemical structure in a single line. Let us see this example. The SMILE notation of carbon dioxide. The structure of CO2 can be simply written as O double bond C double bond O. Here the carbon is connected to the oxygen by a double bond. We'll come to detail how this SMILE notation are being given. To understand the SMILE notation, we have to understand the SMILE specification rules. These rules helps you to represent the structure of atoms, bonds, cyclic structures, branches, as well as stereochemistry of any chemical structures. So let us see how SMILE specification rules are given. It consists of series of characters without spaces in between and hydrogen atoms are omitted. Let's see why hydrogen atoms are omitted in SMILES. Hydrogen atoms need not be specified when writing SMILES for most organic structure. The presence of hydrogen atoms can be explicitly determined by square brackets for charged hydrogens and when it is connected to other hydrogens, and last for isotopic specification. So we have to denote it as capital H inside the square brackets. So now let us see how atoms are specified in SMILES notation. They are represented by their atomic symbols and non-hydrogen atoms are enclosed in square brackets. However, there are certain elements in the organic subset such as boron, carbon, nitrogen and oxygen may be written without brackets when it has lowest normal valence. So, with the help of the specification rules for the atom, you can give a SMILE specification rule for these particular structures in the tables. Let us look into the table. Here, lithium can be represented as Li within square brackets, whereas for water only O, methane only C. And hence, hydrogen atom is not the part of the organic subset, therefore it must be specified inside the bracket. Now, let's move on to the specification rules for the bond. In case of single and double bond, the symbols like single dash and equal to are used. However, in case of triple bond, you have to go for the hashtag sign. So, it means if any two atoms are connected with triple bond, you have to represent that respective connection with hashtag sign. Adjacent atoms are assured to be connected to each other by a single bond or aromatic bond. So let's see these examples. The structure of ethanol can be represented as C, single bond C and single bond O. And carbon dioxide are denoted by an equal sign in between. And in the third one, since hydrogen cyanide is a triple bond, it should have a notation of hash in between carbon and nitrogen. Next, we'll discuss how to specify the cyclic structures with the help of SMILE specification rules. There are two types of cyclic structure. One is aliphatic, another one is aromatic. In case of aliphatic, atoms of the structure of carbon, oxygen, sulfur and nitrogen are represented in uppercase letters. And in case of aromatic, the structures are represented in lowercase letters. Let's see the structure of cyclohexane as an example. It is an aliphatic structure. To represent the carbon in cyclohexane, you have to denote the carbon in uppercase C. So you have to write capital C1 followed by all C. Again, this first C1 and last C1 are interconnected with each other. Therefore, it is in a cyclic form. Now, to represent the branches, the SMILE specification rule says branches are specified by enclosing them in parentheses. This means you have to use brackets to represent the branching. Let us see this example of fluoroform. As you can see, fluoride atom is in a branch. It is represented in brackets. In the case of 4-heptanoic acid, the branches may be nested with carbon, oxygen and hydroxyl group. And in case of acetic acid, the branches are specified with brackets. SMILE specification can also be used to represent the stereochemistry of structures. This helps to represent the cis and trans conformer. Configuration around double bonds and character with cis as forward slash and backward slash for trans. Now look into the structure of ethene in cis and trans form, which has been represented in SMILES. Now to represent the configuration at a tetrahedral carbon, you have to use this at sign. 2 at symbol indicates that when viewed from nitrogen along the bond to the chiral center, the sequence of substituents of hydrogen H and methyl C and carboxylate C double bond O in bracket and O in another one bracket appear clockwise representation of L-alanine. Similarly, if it is only single at between carbon and hydrogen, this indicates the anti-clockwise representation of D-alanine. So in this way, dear friends, you can represent the stereochemistry of compounds. Now, we'll see the initial example, that is the structure of aspirin, which has been given in the title slide for evaluation. The atoms are numbered starting from 1 to 13 to represent the structure of aspirin in SMILES. It starts with the methyl group C followed by carbon in second position and by double bond O as a branch in brackets, then oxygen O connected to a benzene C1 followed by another branch of double bond O, and oxygen. So now I hope with this some basic SMILE specification rules you will be able to represent the SMILES notation for different chemical structures by further trying these examples. Check out your answer. These are the SMILES notation for the given structures. Thank you very much for understanding. Keep smiling. Thank you.